This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. A fire has destroyed the former Clermont primary school in what's being called a deliberately lit blaze. The 1924 heritage-listed building has been the subject of a spate of recent arson attacks, the incident causing serious health implications for the local area. Louise Hedger was at the scene a short time ago.
Emergency services were called to the blaze at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. The former Clermont primary school is now mostly destroyed. Emergency services are also saying the blaze is deemed suspicious as there is no electricity to the building. Crews from Claremont, Hobart and Bridgewater were called to fight the ferocious blaze, which was quickly spreading across all structures. At least one building is completely destroyed and firefighters are now working inside the roof of this building in an attempt to control any further damage. Witnesses say this outbuilding, which has flames licking the side of the structure, is often used by young people as a local hangout. This isn't the first time there's been a fire on the grounds. The abandoned school has been the subject of a number of recent arson attacks. An investigation will begin when the heat of the fire has cooled down, but as I mentioned, it is already considered to have been deliberately lit. Tasmania Fire Service have advised the amount of smoke still billowing from the structure is posing a severe threat to those with medical conditions. Emergency services are obviously going to be here late into the night as they assess the damage and save what they can from the heritage-listed building.
Charges are expected to be laid against a man and a woman who led police on a destructive chase through Launceston this morning. Driving a truck, the pair charged through school zones and suburban streets before the male was arrested in a primary school when he tried to flee on foot. Tom Johnson has more.
Parents and children on their morning school run witnessed the final moments of an attempted getaway. Just before 8:30, police surrounded and arrested a man inside the Launceston Preparatory School, ending a tense 20-minute run across the city. The driver of the Mitsubishi truck left a trail of destruction. It all started when police flagged him down for a seatbelt infringement in Invermay, but the male driver took off, damaging an unmarked police car before crashing into this commercial truck on Olive Street in Newstead.
The male person fled through a number of backyards. We received a number of calls from the public, assistance from the public, and we are very, very grateful for that.
A female passenger was taken into custody at the crash scene. The male was chased down by police inside the school in full view of shocked bystanders.
The offending driver of the vehicle did cause some concern when entering the school area in that area, the area of the collision. I have spoken to the Education Department and the school involved, and they have put their appropriate processes in place.
The getaway driver crossed multiple school zones.
The person involved was required for other matters. Those matters are still being investigated, and at this stage I won't comment any further on that.
Luckily, no one was injured. Witnesses are asked to provide any information to Crime Stoppers.
A suppression order has been lifted on allegations made against Tasmanian Senator Jacqui Lambie by her former Chief of Staff. Rob Messenger and his wife, also a former staffer, have lodged legal action relating to workplace misconduct. Our reporter Jacqueline Robson has been looking over the document and joins us now from the Federal Court. Jacqueline, what are some of the allegations being made?
Well, Joe, there's been some quite extraordinary claims made against Senator Jacqui Lambie. Today in the federal court, her lawyers argued against its release, citing the scandalous and damaging nature of the claims to the senator's moral character. Now, looking over the document, Mr Messenger noted her excessive alcohol consumption and the effect it would have on herself and staff. He alleges foul language alongside staff announcements referring to her sexual needs. In the statement to the court, Mr Messenger notes a refusal to close her Burnie office following threats made by a terror group with pending advice from Commonwealth authorities. He says there was excessive work hours, claiming up to 100 hours in just 1 week, with underpayment also an issue. We spoke to Mr Messenger outside court today. This is what he had to say.
Unfortunately, any questions that you have, we can only answer in court with our hands on the Bible, and we're, I guess, grateful that we're going to get that opportunity.
Now, Joe, attempts have been made to contact Senator Lambie's office. The case is expected to return in October.
OK, thanks so much for that, Jacqui Lambie. An 11-year-old Deloraine girl remains in the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne after being shot in the face late on Tuesday night. At the family's request, the hospital would not provide an update on the girl's condition today. She was initially flown into state in a critical condition and is reportedly now stable. The incident occurred in Stag Court, Deloraine. A 25-year-old man has been charged with causing grievous bodily harm and recklessly discharging a firearm. He'll front court tomorrow. Tasmanian small businesses will now have access to a new loan scheme to help reduce their power bills. No interest loans of up to $40,000 are available for local businesses. It's building on the government's current energy efficiency loan scheme, promoting an investment in energy smart products.
This is a fantastic carrot for them to be able to look at their lighting requirements, look at their heating, look at their cooling in the middle of summer. For some of the small grocery area, for example, energy is probably their third highest cost after rent and wages. So,
applications for the loans and the list of eligible appliances are on the Aurora website. The state government's new controlled access scheme for medicinal cannabis continues to cause concern for sufferers needing treatment. Worried about possible delays in dispensing the legal material, they're proposing an initiative to protect those who use it outside the scheme.
From tomorrow, medicinal cannabis will be made available for Tasmanians suffering chronic medical conditions. But for Lynn Cleaver, it's no peace of mind amid concerns of lengthy referrals.
It's frustrating because we're trying to keep our son alive and we're forced to ask a politician for a medicine that's safe and effective.
Mrs. Cleaver uses the treatment for her son Jeremy, growing plants in her backyard.
We engaged Tasmania Police back in 2014 and they were honest with us that they said, look, cannabis is an illicit substance. If we do come across it, we will confiscate it.
The Greens are proposing a registry identifying sufferers to police to circumnavigate an extensive wait expected through the new controlled access scheme.
Somebody like Lynn could go to her doctor. She could have that conversation with somebody that she's probably already got a relationship with, and an ID card could be offered to her.
The Premier says it's an unnecessary move.
Tasmania Police have said that their operational policy is not to pursue people who are using cannabis for medical purposes, and we don't expect that to change.
You've got the Premier of the day plus the police of the day not enforcing the law that exists because we know medicinal cannabis is saving lives.
The opposition supports a registry as many sufferers consider unsafe black market options. Labor calling for doctors to prescribe the drug to prevent a backlog in specialist referrals.
We know it's a less harmful drug than many of the opiate-based drugs that are being prescribed right now legally by general practitioners to patients around Tasmania.
The government has committed to increasing specialist numbers. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
The first Tasmanian woman to swim the English Channel a decade ago is about to embark on another gruelling challenge. Anne Steele is about to fly to Scotland to swim Loch Earn in memory of her dad and to raise money for a Tasmanian cancer charity.
Midwinter swims in the icy River Derwent may not be at the top of the agenda for many, but for Anne Steele, it's a routine 2 or 3 times a week. The mum of 2 is about to travel to Scotland, where she's set her sights on swimming 10 kilometres in the cold, choppy and deep waters of Loch Earn.
I don't know how my body will deal with the cold water for that period of time.
She's no stranger of diving into a challenge, this year marking 10 years since becoming the first Tasmanian woman to swim 48 kilometres across the English Channel. She raised thousands for a children's cancer charity and was crowned Tasmanian of the Year. Just a year later, she lost her beloved father to bowel cancer.
Going back to my dad's homeland, which is very precious to me because he was such a significant part of my swimming.
This year, she's raising money for Melanoma Tasmania, another cause close to her heart.
Melanoma continues to be a highly unpredictable disease and can kill. And here in Tassie, we lose approximately one person every week to the disease.
5 years ago, the high school teacher faced her own cancer scare, a malignant melanoma.
I had to go in and have it fully removed, and I was lucky enough to catch it early.
The doctor's discovery made during a routine check, but there is nothing routine about Anne's activity on the water. She's going to brave the icy Scottish waters without a wetsuit.
But I'm aware that there won't be any permanent damage as long as I've finished the swim in 4 hours.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
A group of Tasmanian students is hoping to shed light on what it's like to be a young person living with cancer through a new play entitled Masquerade.
It's got a lot of magic in it. It's based on a very popular children's picture book from the 1980s by Kit Williams, which revolved around a real-life treasure hunt.
The stage adaptation, written by Kate Mulvaney, adds the story of a boy in a cancer ward who's trying to make sense of his illness. Raising funds for the youth cancer charity Canteen, the MacKillop Catholic College show begins tonight and runs until Saturday. Launceston's Silverdome is about to undergo a major multi-million-dollar transformation. The state government will spend almost $2 million updating the exterior of the facility and improving disabled access.
It's been a Launceston icon for more than 30 years, and soon the Silverdome will be transformed from this to this. As part of a major facelift, the concourse of the velodrome is being upgraded. A new bar and retail space have been included in draft plans, as has a lift.
Times change, and it's important that we change with them and ensure that this asset, this multi-million-dollar asset, looks its best, but importantly provides the sorts of options that sporting clubs and community groups are looking for.
The government has included $1.9 million in this year's budget for the upgrade. The facility is known for hosting major sporting events, concerts and large shows. It's hoped the revamp could see it used more often.
Any money that's spent is great for our city as well.
The Silverdome was built in 1984 and has always been a state government asset. This is the first time it has ever received a major facelift. The revamp coincides with the government's Launceston Sports Infrastructure Strategy. It's working with organisations to determine what facilities need updating.
There are not enough courts for basketball in the greater Launceston area, so there's money in the budget to explore that at the moment as well. So we're participating in that process and we're really looking forward to the outcomes.
We do need a purpose-built facilities, and that's not just for the basketball. I think for soccer we do need a purpose-built facility in our city.
The Silverdome upgrade will be put out to tender in November. Construction is expected to begin early next year and be completed by July. The facility will remain fully operational while work is carried out. Monica Dadson, Southern Cross News.
The bomb squad was called to Greenpoint Plaza in Bridgewater at around 8 o'clock last night after a package that was determined to be suspicious was found out the front of the building. Shoppers were evacuated at around 8 until the scene was declared safe. The package later determined as some unattended mail. A year after the Tamaroa rowing club was battered by Launceston floods, $300,000 is being spent on upgrades to the premises. Another level will be added to the club rooms, while the existing venue will be modified to withstand future flooding events.
The low-lying Tamar Rowing Club has been no stranger to flooding since it started in 1876, but nothing matched the ferocity of last year's June floods when the facility was ripped apart.
All of the doors and all of the walls and windows in our club facility were blown out. The water came through and just smashed all of that.
Today, a lifeline for the historic club. The state government bankrolling the construction of a second level to the club rooms and modifications to stop water damage on the lower level if another flood hits.
The club was on its knees, and to the credit of club members, we've pulled ourselves together.
We've seen this club support a number of local schools. It has a strong women's growing team.
The development means the club can properly display its proud history. 140 years of rowing memorabilia is currently being stored off-site until these club rooms are floodproof. Work is expected to start in late October. A boost for basketball also announced today. Nearly 700 school clinics will be provided by the state's 3 Seabull clubs next year, thanks to $250,000 in funding.
We're really excited to be able to increase the number of young people that we can work with, but it's all about putting basketballs in the hands of young Tasmanians.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
A group of Year 12 students will be feeling worse for wear as they near the halfway mark of a 24-hour physical challenge. The cohort of St Patrick's College students is swimming, cycling and running throughout the night for the school's annual Lap It Up fundraiser.
All the students kind of love getting involved, getting their hands dirty and raising as much money as they can.
The students expecting to raise $20,000 for a sister school in Tanzania. Smokers will have to pay more for cigarettes and related products as of tomorrow as part of the National Tobacco Excise. The tax price will increase 12.5%, meaning on average one cigarette will cost 70 cents, up from 62. The Cancer Council is urging Tasmanians to quit for the financial and health benefits.
What we're trying to do is to encourage people, obviously, to not smoke. It's the most preventable cause of death and disease. In Tasmania, the highest amount of death by cancer is lung cancer because people smoke. I'm not sure how many more warnings we have to give people.
Money made through the tax price hike is expected to go towards prevention strategies. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Widespread gains led by the big iron ore miners and banks have driven the share market to its best daily gain in almost 3 weeks. The ASX 200 index has risen by 44.8 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 78.9 US cents and 110.26 New Zealand cents.
It's been building as one of the fiercest TSL finals ever, and both coaches are promising fireworks. With all their big names right to go, Saturday afternoon's qualifying final between Lauderdale and Clarence has the potential to go down in the history books.
With rumours of recent off-field altercations and allegations of packs being broken, Saturday's final is set to give new meaning to the words grudge match.
People are saying, we're trying to pump the game up and this sort of stuff. It's already pumped up. The players just love playing against each other.
For a lot of the players in our team and also in Darren's team as well, is they probably never played in a game like this.
The Roos have been problematic for Winter's boys this year, beating them on all 3 occasions. Jake Cox could prove the difference, but if he goes quiet, Brady Jones, Sam Siggins, Trent Standard and Ian Callanan should be there to pick up the slack.
They've got a whole host of players that we need to be have good matchups on, be strong on. Make sure they don't get off the leash at different stages through the game.
With no shortage of talent, the Roos expect Josh McGuinness to give them the most grief. Thor Boscott, Bryce Walsh, Nat Franklin, Phil Bell-Chambers and Ryan Wiggins always up for a big game.
So I think the teams are pretty even. I think both teams have got match winners and I think it's going to be a red hot contest.
Jack Gleeson is one suspension away from being deregistered, and Webberley expects the midfielder will get some extra attention.
I'd expect so, because if I was Darren, I'd be in his ear all day.
You don't win finals targeting and being undisciplined. Jack Gleeson has not been mentioned, he won't be mentioned.
What both coaches can guarantee come 3:45 Saturday afternoon.
Both teams will hit the ball pretty hard. It'll be a very fiery contest and passionate contest.
It's going to be fierce. It's going to be a really good game of TSL footy. If you're not at Blunston on Saturday, I don't know what you'd be doing.
Good evening. Well, the last day of winter, and what a cracker it was over most of the state. Hobart cool but fine, 11 degrees. Launceston and King Island the top with 14 today and 12 the high in Devonport. And as you look at the map, remember all over Tasmania this week, it is Legacy Week and your chance to help the widows and children under Legacy's care. Look out for all the volunteers with the badges, bears, pens and pins tomorrow and Saturday. These temperatures you see here are just below average around Tasmania. Look pretty cool. The coldest, -8 at Lake St Clair. Lyowini after a -4 reached 8 this afternoon. There is a cold pool of air with that familiar speckled aspect moving to the east of Tasmania, plenty of it there. That's following the cold front. Another front is south of Western Australia and another cold air mass behind that. And here's the close-up showing low cloud over the east and south with clear skies over the rest of the state. Tomorrow the fronts continue their eastward progression south of the Bight. The high pressure system weakens and shifts over the eastern states as well. We do have a frost warning for many districts. That'll follow these winds, 10 to 20 knots over most waters, but stronger down the west coast at 20 to 30 knots from the north-northeast and swells to 2 metres. That frost warning is for most centres tomorrow. A road weather alert for all areas apart from the northwest. A strong wind warning from Low Rocky Point to Stanley. Tomorrow's forecast, a sunny one for Hobart, 16, -2 to kick the day off in Huonville, a bit of frost and fog, and 16 later, 15 the top for Campania. Launceston, a morning frost and some fog, 14 the top, 14 for Devonport with a light late shower and 13 the high for Georgetown. Burnie, a possible light late shower, 14 degrees, 15 and partly cloudy for Strawn, a light shower for Wynyard and 14, while Force and Helens mostly sunny and 14, up to 16 for Swansea and 14 for Port Arthur. On Saturday, showers over the north and west, increasing and extending statewide. Showers on Sunday, mainly over the north and west again. Some snow on the peaks during the evening, and snow lowering to 300 metres on Monday as a late wintry snap moves over. Showers in Perth and developing later over Adelaide tomorrow. Partly cloudy for Melbourne, Canberra and Sydney. A sunny 24 for Brisbane. It's clear and 6 in Hobart, 8 degrees in Launceston and 6 right now in Devonport. I can't believe it's spring already, Joe. The year is flashing by. I'll have to get the Christmas decorations out shortly.
Oh, back up on your roof, Murph. Be careful. Thanks so much for that, hon. Well, that's all from the news team for now. See you a bit later. Bye-bye.